bin Laden. So I think that comparison is far-fetched. I do, however, think that al-Awlaki has matured and migrated from being a kind of a propagandist to being more operational. And we should be careful not to dismiss him, not to underestimate him, just as we shouldn't overestimate him. I think the leadership hierarchy in AQAP is pretty clear. Wahshi's in charge, but al-Awlaki, I think, plays a role and probably more operational than just symbolic. My answer to your question is read the book. I don't have to have.
So easy.
Huh?
I wish it was so easy.
I don't have to have USAID functioning at a top level across the board. I need USAID, or I needed USAID to do certain things for me in Yemen. And in my experience, they were able to do those things for me. The other thing is, I think we need to have realistic expectations of what development means in Yemeni terms. I was always very uncomfortable with the Millennium Goals of the United Nations because they were very, they were objective, they were ambitious, they were beyond the reach of Yemen. Yemen was doomed to fail with these Millennium Goals. But if you take a specific situation, take Ma'rib, for example, or take Jauf, for example, or take Shabwa, for example, and you go into that situation, I submit that you can define ways of creating development so that the people in those regions see significant progress. There's still, $2 a day, $3 a day. You haven't solved the macroeconomic questions which need to be addressed as well through another channel. But at least in locations where al-Qaeda seeks safe havens, you can create a positive dynamic of modest development that undercuts al-Qaeda's appeal, and that if the government sustains it and is present in those guys, will create more support for the government.
One last quick question.
Ron Wolf, I'm with SAIC. You indicated that al-Qaeda, despite the absence of Osama bin Laden in Yemen, in the current state of upheaval, had a chance of asserting itself. At the same time, what we hear, the common wisdom is that as a result of the Arab Spring, al-Qaeda has been devalued in the rest of the Arab world and is not as important as it had been, as a symbol around which people could unite. These two views seem to be in conflict. Could you explain, is Yemen such an exceptional case to that general piece of analysis?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting dynamic to analyze. My analysis for the Yemen situation is that short term, it's a gain for al-Qaeda because they gain operating space, the pressure is taken off them. It's harder for us to cooperate with the Yemenis in looking at, searching out Wahashi and these other people. And we know that they are actively plotting against us and have stated that they will take advantage of any opportunity to strike at the U.S. and in the homeland. So I think I'm not privy to day-to-day intelligence, but I think it's a pretty reasonable assumption that in the short run, al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is taking advantage of this situation. Now, in the long run, who knows? Clearly, the revolutionaries are not promoting an al-Qaeda program. Ironically, the revolutionaries are promoting a program that is very conducive to what the U.S. supports: civil society, accountable government, etc., etc. If revolutionaries, political forces, are able to translate these aspirations into real change and democratic institutions, then I would agree with you. In the long run, this creates an environment where al-Qaeda is going to have more difficulty in thriving. Take a simple example. If in Yemen you had a parliamentarian from Jauf who actually had the clout to get from the national budget the resources that a place like El Jauf was entitled to, you would create a dynamic in that remote area which would have a stronger government, more cooperation from the tribes, and al-Qaeda would have less opportunity to act as a safe haven there. So you have a short run, and then you have long run. The short run, I think, is fairly certain. The long run, I think, is optimistic.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank you for all your time. I hope your book gets into the hands of the government and the military.